Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Bavarian, and today we're going to check out a game called Gilded Destiny, a grand strategy game. This game is being developed by Aquila Interactive, which is a new and upstart indie project that is trying to create a Victorian-era grand strategy game, in the vein of essentially the Victoria series. We're going to take a look at what these features look like today, what we can expect from it, when it's going to come out, and then I'm going to give you my very own opinion on this game, and I would love to hear yours of course as well. Now I will tell you that we are only going to gloss over all of the most important features coming in this game as well as the dates. If you want more specific information, make sure to check out the link in the description that will go to the YouTube channel of the developers, because they have been doing a ton of video dev diaries, and I think it's worthwhile checking out. I've watched all of them of course before doing this video, but I would always recommend that you check it out as well, because I can't cover everything in that kind of depth here on the channel. Alright, but with that being said, why are we checking out Gilded Destiny in the first place? What is Gilded Destiny? Gilded Destiny is a game that is currently running a Kickstarter, and this Kickstarter is basically meant to then usher in a closed alpha for people that back it at least at the merchantman level that should start in April, May or June. I have seen all 3 months in different locations, but let's just say in Q2 2024 is when the closed alpha for at least merchantman backers should begin. And then after that, the early access of this game will start somewhere around August or September from what I understand. I'm not entirely sure when the full release is planned, but this is the current timeline, and I would say that early access, at the very least, probably is going to take 6 months, maybe even more, because, well, grand strategy, and more on that at the end of this video, is an incredibly complex niche, so to get it right, to balance everything, and to get it in a state that people will really enjoy, is going to be hard. Now, as I am recording this, the Kickstarter is running for 26 more days, so if you want to support what they're doing here, if you like what you see, and if you just want to support projects in grand strategy as a niche in general, then make sure to check out that Kickstarter as soon as you can. But for now, let's talk about what Gilded Destiny is actually about. Now, when it comes to grand strategy titles, and this map of Gilded Destiny right here, there's only 2 that come to my mind that do things in a similar fashion, and neither of them are actually released. That would be Grey Eminence, and that would be Songs of the Eons. I am talking, of course, about the fact that this map is on a globe, so it is not a flat map, it is just a literal globe. At the same time, this is also not a map that has provinces like you would know them from Paradox games. Rather, this one is a map that has 1.6 million hexagonal tiles. Meaning, everything is very compartmentalized, everything is very easy to erase and to add. You will see this as well, they have a great map editor from the looks of it, but it also makes it so that, yeah, obviously everything follows the hexagonal map shape. Now, in general, I will say that this map looks pretty. If you take a look at this, there's definitely a lot to see and a lot to behold. The map here is definitely one of the unique selling propositions of this game, so make sure to check out how they do the map, and of course the map making tutorials as well, because they have been very open about that, and quite frankly, let me just put that in here, I've been very impressed. If you want to edit the map in a Paradox game, you have to go into various programs, you have to edit various different map layers. You don't have to do that right here. You can edit it right in the game, you can change the properties, you can change what is going on there, and you can literally map paint. I think that is quite impressive, because modability in grand strategy always adds a ton of content and a ton of depth. Now, other than that, and I am quoting them here, let me just tell you what they say about warfare. They believe a single progress bar per battlefront simply will not do the era justice. Issue commands directly to your units to take advantage of tactical opportunities, or let the AI take control to help you manage wars on multiple fronts. Face both the short and long-term challenges of warfare, ranging from logistics and terrain to the treatment of wounded veterans. There's 2 things here that you should notice. Obviously, yes, this is a little disguised dig at Victoria 3's warfare system. At the same time, though, it is also simply a confirmation that this is stack-based warfare with AI assistance. This is something that has existed in grand strategy for quite some time. Hearts of Iron 3 had it, EU4 and Victoria 2 have it, and Imperator Rome, most notably I think, had the biggest support for, well, basically handing your troops over to the AI. Going even so far that in Imperator, your generals can just say, I'm not listening to you anymore, I am leading my armies to wherever I want to lead them. Now, I will say that normally when I see these kind of niche games and they take digs at other games, it's not really a perfect sign, because they should be able and be willing to stand on their own feet and their own features. However, I will cut them some slack here. Using shock marketing in a time where it's pretty difficult for game studios in general, but most notably of course for grand strategy studios in particular, because, well, how do you attack the behemoth that is the DLC model of Paradox? Yeah, it's completely fair. This is basically what you're looking at, and I think it is important that it is being communicated right away. Now, the big question here for me is, of course, what will the supporting warfare AI look like? From what I have seen, we don't have too much information, but getting the AI right for 1.6 million tiles could be relatively difficult. I hope that that works out just fine, but in general, this is an old and proven model, so yeah, this should indeed work quite well. Other than warfare, there are of course even more layers to this game. They are taking a look at policies and decisions, and from the video dev diaries, I personally would argue that both of them in this game look pretty similar to Victoria 2's decisions and politics. They have already said, for example, that parliaments won't be in the game right away. However, there will be elections, there will be politicking, and well, for example, if you pass a law, if you've played Victoria 2, it feels very similar from what I have seen to Victoria 2, where you pass the law, and should people be very upset about it, then they will react afterwards, I assume, for example, with open rebellion. This is indeed very reminiscent of systems that have already existed, and if you like those, then I think that is something that you should definitely enjoy as well right here in the game. Decisions, of course, are primarily used for flair, for flavor, and so on, so having them present and knowing that I can achieve something and then be rewarded with that decision is something that is always nice to see. But of course, it also goes further. The Victoria series, for example, in comparison, has always been a series of society and of population, and that can't miss in this game either. They have pops. What they are saying is that you will be able to effect sweeping social change as your country moves from an agrarian to industrial society, with an in-depth population system that captures the resultant shifts in a profession, literacy, religion, culture, and ideology. The particular qualities of different demographics will present you with unique challenges and opportunities as you transform and develop your nation. What we can see right here is that we have clear classes, lower class, middle class, and of course the upper class. We can also see that we are looking at something related to war wounded, making it then of course harder to keep up the standard of living and to have enough labor for your population if you have a protracted World War I, for example. I really like this concept, and I hope that this population mechanic right here will work very, very well, because it should be the backbone of this game. Vicky has always been a series of societal change, of nations discovering their own identities, and the population is front and center for that. Now, of course, with population, you also have economics. They will also have a market simulation, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't make any statements on that, not even vague statements, because, well, you gotta always test exactly how these kind of extremely complex systems work. I just hope that this will indeed be both performant and a lot of fun. What we can see right here, even if we don't have all the details of the economy and so on, is that this is essentially attempting to fill the exact same niche as the Victoria series. And well, granted, we haven't had many economy and society focused games, so it should be interesting to see what their approach here is, and of course what the exact execution looks like. Now then, the last two things are the leaders. They have leaders, and we have a lot of information on that. They are characters with their own portraits. You have historical characters, you have generated characters, and these characters can grow. As they are a member of your government, as they are a member of your army, they will get more skills, they will pick up different traits, and so on. This does indeed seem like a very interesting system. Now, what they have already said is that certain things are connected to the historical personalities. For example, last I heard, the way it works, if you want to go to war against France like Germany did in 1870, but have it be a defensive war, you can do the Emser Depesche, so the actual thing that led to this, if you only have Bismarck as a chancellor or as a government minister. So he is required to actually do that. That seems to be a pretty strong impact for characters in a simulation game like this. And then last but not least, this game is made to be modded, and I can only really congratulate them. I recommend highly checking out the editor showcase in the detailed video. Again, you find it on their channel, because that is just neat. This seems to be a really built-for-purpose kind of tool, and I'm a big fan. In the hope, of course, that there will be a very active modding scene. So that is a general overview over the game. We are looking at a game that attempts to simulate economies and, of course, societies, connecting it to war, connecting it to empire building, and, well, to grand strategy in general. It is a rather interesting project, and most importantly for me, which is why I'm covering this, I'm very hesitant about this, because it's so easy for game studios to, well, not quite get there. This game is already fully funded. They are doing Kickstarter, basically for the marketing push, and, well, I mean, I am here, you are here watching this video, you are hearing about this game for the first time or maybe for one of many times, and that is of course the intended effect. But of course marketing isn't everything, there are also stretch goals attached to this. For example, the China self-strengthening movement at 40,000, United States and Confederacy military sprite pack, and Greek War of Independence, and so on at different levels. Alright, and that is the general overview of what is coming here in Gilded Destiny. I will now also go ahead and give you a bit of my estimation of what I think about this game, where I'm coming in on this, and just generally what my feelings are. Something that I really like about this game is that Gilded Destiny has a pretty good scope managing, at least from what I can see. All the projects, all the individual systems, all the modding and all that really screams of good project management. I can see systems where I'm saying, yeah, I can see you implementing this. Yeah, I can see this working right away and being a functional and coherent overall entity. And I think that is really, really important. Listen, grand strategy as a niche, and I think I know this better than many others just because I've had the pleasure of talking and working with so many different grand strategy studios. It is a hell of a niche, okay? If you make a game that is, for example, a twin-stick shooter, it's pretty easy to have a game that is fun, that is lovely, and that people will buy the hell out of without having overly complex systems behind it. Because twin-stick shooters are more mechanical in their nature, more execution-driven, rather than complexity behind the scenes, rather than how much is being simulated, what exactly is going on, making it easier to create them without needing to bug test and just overview test everything. In grand strategy, you can design an entire system, and after you're done, after a month or two, you will say, wow, this entire system is not fun. I realize this now after implementing it, making it so that you just spent those 2 months doing basically nothing. It is a difficult niche. And yet, Gilded Destiny and everything that I've seen so far makes me think, yeah, that sounds realistic. I think you can probably do that, and you can put it into a really, really fun implementation. And that's exactly my point. If you've watched this entire video and you're not one of the people that was, well, basically entirely convinced that this is a lovely concept and that you want to support it right now, I will do something just for you here at the end of the video. I would call it the sandbagging pitch, okay? Basically, I will try to sandbag what this game is. Maybe it is going to come out and it is going to be the perfect game. My pitch here, though, assumes that it isn't, because it's just a game, right? I think it is still worthwhile checking this game out, considering to support it on Kickstarter, entirely because even a game that isn't as complex as a game that had 10 years of iteration and, well, 20, 30 years of institutional knowledge within Paradox itself, if it is a ton of fun. And I can definitely see Gilded Destiny being a ton of fun. So in the interest of this sandbagging pitch, I just want to say, maybe let's assume for a second that this game won't be the most complex or the most realistic or whatever it is that you value in particular for your grand strategy game, maybe the most immersive and so on. But it could still be the most fun. And this is very important. Grand strategy is a difficult niche, but you can still make good games in it. It's just that winning over the customer base, winning over the population that already plays the 10-year DLC model, yeah, that's going to be difficult. If you are a big fan of this niche, if you want to see new ideas, if you want to see new iterations, and maybe complexity from a different angle, maybe gameplay fun from a different angle, then I would still, even if you're saying I'm not sure whether this is going to be the perfect game for me, to check out this game regardless. Because yeah, being an indie dev in the grand strategy sector is goddamn harsh, and this game already looks like it has a ton of complexity coming out of nowhere, since this is indeed the very first game of Aquila Interactive. Not to mention the absolute dedication to modding support. It is not every day that we see a grand strategy game that comes out of nowhere, out of an indie studio without a major publisher, and it already has a really, really goddamn high level of complexity. Whether it can compete with the 10-year DLC model or not, let's put that aside for a second, then I think that is worth supporting. And most importantly, whether it's the most complex one or not, it can still be incredibly, incredibly fun. What this project looks like to me is basically a gust of fresh air, something where there could be new ideas, new iterations, and of course, just new touch points in general. I think when it comes to the grand strategy niche, it is so goddamn difficult to bring anything off the ground. The fact that this right here exists in all of the breadth it already has is very, very impressive. And I think that is quite frankly something to support, because it means of course that there is so much more that could be coming from developers that already put this together. And hey, let's assume for a second that maybe this won't be the most complex game ever made because it is the first iteration. It could be just that in the future, and most importantly, even from day one, it could just be an incredible amount of fun. Because complexity is one thing, and it has an iron grip over the grand strategy niche, but actually making fun out of complexity is another. This is a super interesting project, and it is up against a behemoth of content and of complexity. However, it does seem like they know what they're doing here, and I'm very much looking forward to this actually making its way to full release. If you are one of the people that really enjoys grand strategy as a niche, if you want to see it develop, if you want to see it evolve, I think checking out this game's Kickstarter and maybe even pitching in is a good idea. It is always nice to see more entries in a small niche like this one, so let's make sure that we are taking a look at it and giving it its fair chance. So again, if you really enjoy what you're seeing, make sure to check them out, and if you are kind of hesitant but are a lover of grand strategy, I think it's also fair to say that you should be checking out this page for sure. They are looking at this overall goal right here. I think it's 20,000 British pounds as their base goal, and of course after that we have these stretch goals right here as well. Make sure to go check this game out, and if you have your own thoughts, be it on the grand strategy niche or on Gilded Destiny in particular, make sure to leave it in the comments because I always look forward to reading those. For the time being, let's hope that they meet their Kickstarter goal because that is the best thing you can do for morale. So yeah, indeed, you could be a big part of this as well. Go check it out, and I will see you later, alligator.